You recording? Here we go.
Yeah.
You want it? Then you hit it. You hit the button.
Oh, this red one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Get outside. See it.
Oh, it's charging.
Here we go.
See the thing's charging.
Let there be content.
Let there be content, dude. My favorite was the very beginning of it. Was Murph just being like, push the button. I'm like, the red button? It's like it's it's everything you dream of as
Yeah.
a child. The power. Yes.
And it goes on for a little bit right there too. Like,
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it stays on. Yeah, for sure. Lingers there.
did anybody get too close in this firing?
Well, Murphy, you'll probably see him here. He did start to run up to. Yeah, you can see him up there. He was like running up to it, and then I started running because I was like, "Well, if he's getting closer, I'm getting closer." But ultimately, nothing. We didn't get that close. It's just so cool and like, I don't know. It gives you so
absolutely.
much. Yeah, when you think about it, space is only like 2 miles up. 3
Yeah,
miles.
and we got new stuff to play with here.
Oh, a bunch of new stuff to play with here. We're talking, of course, about the Hathor mining missions in 4.1. Tav and I and with a few of our buddies played it this week. It was awesome. It was as Naruchiko said. Naruchiko. It's the Oppenheimer moment for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's oh, what a cool loop that they finally. I mean, yeah, we use everything for this. It almost seems.
Yeah. Everything they already had, right? And they built something cool, and it worked. It was like even now, this is like 3 or 4 days after the fact. The server performance is still what's it called? Degraded.
Yeah. Now maybe that's the most. That's the second most impressive thing is that this. Everybody had a good experience from this.
Yeah, even with the degraded servers, dude, it was like, I mean, you just see me there, and everything's running really smooth. I didn't have like all the normal things with like your weapons getting stuck or like coming out or like time delays when you're pushing buttons or like not even seeing your friends. Only one of our guys was like not on the same time in terms of like server performance. Only one person in our group had people like standing not where they were.
Oh, okay. I can
But it
see
was
the classic ladder there. Yeah. No, it's let's that's our question for this week, right? Is to discuss this event.
yeah, so we're Open Comms Radio, your StarCitizen call-in show. You can feel free to call in by joining our Discord. Just join the Discord. There's a caller waiting room. Stop on in. If you don't want to say something in person or in voice, you could write it down in chat if you're watching us live, or you could throw down in something to say. We have a channel on our Discord, something to say, where you can write your messages and we'll respond to them. And we'll usually give them a fun little AI voice as long as we have the credits to do so. But this week's question is all about the Hathor mining mission. What did I write for the question, dude?
Hathor mining mission pay to win ? I think that's I've seen a lot of discussion about this. Whether it be, the fleet of solo Polari, if you want to call them that. I guess that's mainly the main ship that would be at the root of that question, right? Unless there's something.
No. But maybe our first caller is thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
Are we thinking of the Atlas? Okay.
I'll pull him up to the couch here. Wikkett, you're on Open Comms Radio, your StarCitizen call-in show. Today's question is 4.1 Hathor mining mission pay to win?
Citizens.
Welcome back.
Long-time listener. 9th time caller.
Mm-hmm.
9th episode, let's go.
1 second.
That's okay.
Had to wet my
We just pulled you
whistle.
up here.
Had to wet my whistle with some delicious Cruz Lux. In any event, of course, what am I going to say? It's the greatest thing ever that CIG has ever come up with.
Reach.
And it makes all the waiting worthwhile. It's fabulous. It's dramatic. And of course, it's pay to win.
I was gonna say we're no stranger to
Nonsense.
sarcasm. Yeah.
It's listen. All right, come on. They make a event that the only effective way to get into it and mine the stuff that's in the hole that the laser blasts is you have to go buy the thing with real money.
$45.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
there's no other way into the hole that the laser creates, correct?
well,
like
you
can't.
I guess you can get in there FPS. You can just go to
Yeah, you can hand mine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
hand mining, but that's going to be very inefficient because look how much effort it takes just to get the cave to open, right? It takes an immense amount of coordination.
Mm-hmm.
It takes an org, it takes a guild to open that hole. Or you have to be damn lucky and come across one that somebody else opened and sneak in maybe and get some stuff. But again, that's luck of the draw. But if you're gonna make an event that the only way to really participate effectively and to be competitive at the event and make it worthwhile is to spend money, it's pay to win. I mean, the game itself is pay to win. Everything you buy
hold
everything
on.
with real money.
Devil's advocate here. You don't need the geo. You legitimately do not need it. You can FPS hand mine. You just need a multi-tool with a mining attachment and a backpack.
Yeah, and you're going to be down there for about 10 minutes, and then you're going to have to go.
No, you can carry a lot of those minables in your backpack. I don't know what the limit is now, but like when I was hand mining, I'd have hundreds of those little rocks in my backpacks. So I think it's probably the same amount. You can probably hold the same amount of minables, of the little hand minables in your backpack than you can in the geo. We never filled our geos when we were down there. They were always taking, when we feel like 10-20%, he would take them out and Murphy would move them because we were afraid of getting whacked, We didn't, by the way,
but you had a whole operation of somebody, swapping out your backpack basically. I guess you could technically do that with FPS, but it'd be a lot more cumbersome. And then plus this thing can fly. It's got a jetpack.
Oh yeah.
You can't fly FPS. Like if you have to want to get somewhere lower or higher, it's nonsense, man.
Well, the geo is a shit ton of fun.
Yeah, I've played around with it. They are fun.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not a good vehicle. It's not a good addition. It's just if you're going to make an event, you should have some way of using that in game, buying it in game.
Yeah.
I agree with the buying it in game. It seems the event is so catered to it. Yeah, does seem to be a little predatory right there, but
yeah, of course it is.
Yeah,
there's no argument here on that.
I don't begrudge them wanting to make money out of this. I mean, I looked at the funding dashboard today before joining the call, and they're exceeding the previous year-over-year totals already. Month over month compared to last year, they're already starting to exceed the thing again.
Yeah, but that's because the game's more fun and more playable, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. It is more fun and more playable. There's just stuff is working a lot better. Even though, I kept joking around that when they released this last week, 4.1, my estimate was that they would release 4.1 on 4.1. And now, since they released
Yeah.
it last month, I think they re-released it basically because yesterday they released the hotfix client. That worked way better than the regular live client.
Oh, I see what's going on here. I see what's going on. You got proven incorrect live on air, and Mingle actually had the correct estimate, and now you're trying to do some historical revisions.
Let me put words in Mingle's mouth because he loves it when I do that. He's wrong.
He was
Of
right.
course I'm right. Well,
I hear him right now. Like, what
in-
are you talking about?
in what sci-fi pretend universe was he right? In none.
He got the
Because-
day. He said it's going to release tomorrow, and it released the next day.
Well, it released, but it was immediate trash.
And
Everything was broken.
he did also say it would be trash. He said it won't work, but it'll release. And it wasn't that bad. I didn't play it the day it launched. I played it the day after, but okay.
Yeah, and I didn't touch it for 3 days after, and
Yeah, I didn't.
yeah,
either.
I was, you know, at 3 days after, you always wait for that to die down. Typical. I expected that to be weeks, personally.
I chose last weekend to upgrade my computer, so I was kind of in limbo for a little while.
No, I was very impressed. I mean, the response from CIG seemed like they had staff that was working over the weekend, really cognizant and aware of the issue.
Well, they've even posted stuff in the Spectrum in the StarCitizen forum about how they're considering a different kind of release cadence and stop releasing stuff on the weekend or right before the weekend. Release it like any normal company. Everything is always released on a Tuesday. You know why they do that? Because that gives you Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to fix stuff. So by the time the weekend comes, where everybody wants some time off from the developer, plus all the players are able to play, by that time it's usually all fixed. It's kind of standardized practice, you know. I don't know, man. These guys, they seem like they're constantly
They had the whole
figure
marketing
out ways to sabotage themselves.
They have a marketing. I think it's a lot for them to be able to say, look, we've had a release, a patch every month, and I think they've been doing, what is it, 4 months now? They've been very, they nailed it. I mean, granted, the patch needed a couple days in the oven for anybody to play it, but no, a patch every month they seem to be largely sticking with. I wasn't sold that this was going to be out at the time and playable as it was. So,
of course,
no,
I
think it's great.
I had to come on and shake my fist at Cloud Imperium.
No, that's it. Well, we talked about the Geo being that's the win. Is there? I've seen so many videos part of this process.
You're busting in and out.
Sorry, am I?
Your internet's busting out. You got a squirrel on the power line or something?
Perhaps. I don't know. Do I sound okay?
Now you sound better.
Oh, okay. Maybe I did have a squirrel in the power line.
Did you get a new mic, or you're in your you have a little white noise?
Oh.
Talk.
I can try to. Yeah, I'll try to fix that.
What happens when you connect use antennas? He's got old-fashioned, those ones that you used to extend, and like you rip them off the car and whip your brother with them.
Are you talking about the rabbit ears?
Yeah.
And if you get bad reception, you tie tinfoil to them, and it makes it better.
I don't know. I'm not completely convinced that what we have today is better. I don't have anything wireless, like other than like my phone and my laptop, I guess. Everything else is plugged in. I don't want to deal with it. It's too much. It's too many variables. You know what I mean? It's like going mining without the geo. It's just it's too risky and it's not going to be efficient.
How am I now? Any better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually.
All right. So
What was
as
wrong?
my mic that I'm still trying to play with and adjust.
You got a Blue Yeti finally.
Yeah, more or less. No, but I was just thinking of I guess the other parts that people would say the Polaris just seems to be in a really unique state right now to take advantage of these missions once they fixed it. That's a tough ship to drop now. Extremely tough ship to drop. I mean, you can hammer away on that thing with 4 fighters, even larger.
Well, there's people taking them down with
size 5s.
There's people bombing it out of the air with a spirit.
Yeah, that's I've done that before prior to this event, and it is a really cool feeling when you take a Polaris out of the air with a spirit. And
Does it
this
still work?
event, I haven't tried it for this event, and I really want to now, which is to take over maybe another operation, because this is a PvP as we understand it, kind of zone, right?
Well,
With
I don't know.
crime stats, but
Back in the FUPA days, and just so I'll describe what FUPA is, just our old guild that we were in, and we had these things called full spectrum operations, and basically what that meant was it was every facet of the org and guild was part of it, because we had the industrial part, we had the combat part, which was separated like an FPS combat and flight combat like in ships, and then we had a medical rescue segment. So everybody had like a little role to play, and the full spectrum entailed that everybody was part of that. And this is what this seems like a lot to me, this whole thing about you have to have all different facets of your org and different play styles all come together to make this a cohesive whole to be most effective at completing it.
I don't know if I wouldn't be able to complete this alone. No way.
I think you might be able to, not currently because there's so many
someone
people
would.
participating in it, but this is supposed to stay around forever. So, after a couple of months when the hype dies down, maybe you could technically come in here and do this thing. But I'd still say it'd be very time intensive to try to solo something like this or small squad it.
Yeah,
But a lot of all the stuff, my guild master, I'm not going to mention his name. I don't want to embarrass him. He's probably listening. He used to make events for us back in the day because the content was kind of lacking. So he would come up with these pseudo missions / roleplay events that we could participate in. And it seems
Roleplay,
like,
you say?
yes. There was
Oh.
roleplay involved in some things.
A little bit of leather?
No.
Maybe some
No,
Velcro?
just not erotic roleplay, not ERP.
I misunderstood.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure you did. You're just thinking back on your WoW days back in Bolshire.
oh my.
But needless to say, our guildmaster used to come up with these events called Gem Mayhem, and you'd have to go and collect certain things and turn them in, and you would get like credit in the guild. And it was an amazing event because we didn't have anything like that at the time, and it almost seems like these damn CIG not only do they make their game pay to win, now they're ripping off creators.
Guild. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're ripping off our guild. I think we should at least get our guild master's name in the credits, or maybe get him a special cape or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, CIG added the giant space laser.
Yes, they did. Well, I mean, obviously we couldn't do that ourselves at the time, but the guild master would create scenarios and missions and activities based on what was available in the game client, and it was a great time. We had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this.
I have a question about and I don't know. I remember when we were down there, and maybe it was with Mingle, or when we were down there looking at the installation, they had atlases inside, and I don't know if those were geos actually, because I don't think we actually opened the door, but you can see there was cards that allowed you to unlock these mechs. So I'm just saying, maybe it's not as, there seems to be a way to secure the mechs without owning them.
So there were mechs there?
Yep, they were inside the building. And I don't know if orange kind of strikes the default color. I'm trying to remember which one that is.
I
don't
didn't
do
know.
a lot of mining.
I think that's the
obviously,
tractor beam one. The ones, if you're looking at the stream right now, these like dark green ones, those are the mining ones.
Those are the mining ones. Gotcha.
Yeah, the olive.
By the way, I
ones
got
or
a
whatever.
question for you guys. You
So
guys
maybe that's
seem
for
to
the
be
batteries.
you guys seem to be really knowledgeable and up to
Oh, yeah.
speed in the game and kind of know what's going on.
Oh,
That's a lot of
hot
credit
Can
dog.
you
right there.
Can you tell me what GEO stands for? GEO. What does it mean?
Jar Jar.
Geology. It's short for geology. It's not an acronym, because if it were an acronym, it would have the little periods, the little dots between the letters. And I don't believe it does have that. So I think it's not an acronym at all.
Well, does it have to have dots between letters to make it an acronym? I don't think that's right.
Not anymore.
I'm not
Back
a
in the
native
day,
English speaker, but I might be wrong.
back in the day, they always used to do it. But then once computers and shit, I noticed they stopped doing it.
Everything
Right.
went shorthand.
Mm.
Everything went shorthand. LOL. You know what I mean? They just stopped using the dot. So
Oh.
it could be,
Okay.
or George Washington. Those are my
Okay.
two guesses.
It just goes back that far. No, I don't. I'm one of the role. You mentioned the role play. I'm perfectly content. I remember the last time I showed up, it's like, hey, do you want to mine? And it's I'd rather chop my hands off than just me. I'd rather role play security in any fashion or
Really?
shape.
You don't like
Then
it? It's fun, dude.
it's
With the
it's to in my
sparks and
back.
the sounds and
I just get I don't know if it's PTSD from other MMOs where you're just sitting there mining a rock and yeah, I just for me I get my kicks from the game are always different from from just the mining stuff. But I love missions like this where it's like, no, I can come and I can do something else and still be productive. I don't mind hauling, moving some boxes around, making the job easier for
Well,
the people that are mining. But
like a lot of things in Star Citizen, there's like a skill that you learn as you do the activity. In most mining in this game, the biggest challenge is always finding the thing that you're looking to mine. That's a skill in itself, learning how to scan and where to find things, where the highest percentages are. There's some out of game tools you can use to do that. But then once you do find something and do you have the right laser loadout? And then will you be able to break the rock? And then there's a little bit of skill involved in adjusting power. And then once you break it, you have to collect it. And there's a whole loop that I used to think was most boring thing ever, but compared to a lot of other games that entail mining, is you press one button and wait. And at least here,
Yeah.
there's a lot more to it.
yeah, I did hear somebody say that if one explosion down there by heating up those rocks with a bunch of adjacent mechs could trigger some sort of chain reaction that kills everybody in the cave.
That would
And
be
all I
awesome.
could think about to myself was, I'm so glad I'm not in that mech.
Yeah.
I am so glad. I would be the sorry team. Like we're all gone.
Well, you got to be pretty close to each other, I think, for that to happen. But speaking of skill, if you're watching the stream, this was me trying to jump up to the top, and like you jump and then fly, and I couldn't get my mech high enough to do it. It's obviously a skill issue, because BroccoliRob did it right away. So
yeah.
like,
So you have do you have a lot of control when you make that jump? Can you fly or move the jump once you're up in the air?
no.
Oh, okay.
You can move very little when you're coming down, because it's got like thrusters when you jump down.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you have to like aim it and jump and push. You can't really like hover in it. It doesn't. Maybe you'll be able to like update or adjust your mech, because it has like an energy meter, right, for the jetpack, so you can't just hover, and it's like 2 seconds. It's not very long. So it's really just it's a jump pack still.
Oh,
There's no
gotcha. So you
hovering.
can still reach. I just saw you take the route up. You can still reach different parts of the cave on foot. I saw that cliff when I first got down there, and I was like, "Whoa! I don't have a mech. Like, I don't. I was way too scared to jump. I was like, I'm never getting out of here." And
Well,
I
there was
just
a
saw you.
path.
Yeah,
Did you
just
guys
saw you
have
take
guys
the
up
path
in
up.
the air covering the airspace above the hole while you were?
Yep, the whole
Yep.
time. So there were a lot of attacks during this time. There was I think a Polaris came at one point. There were a bunch of fighters coming in and out. There was a reclaimer. I think next you're going to see the reclaimer. And the reclaimer actually like attacked. So what happened was somebody came and they were like, oh, it was in like, I don't know what ship it was, but they landed and whoever was in the sky let them land. And then they came and they killed one of ours. So then we had like a little land fight. And then after that, it was like, kill everyone. But it's kind of amazing, like how ballsy someone in a reclaimer is.
Now, why are
to-
you taking off here?
Because they thought, and I don't think they were right about this, but the rest of the team thought that the hole was going to close because they were seeing how long it'll stay open. Apparently, the hole just closes automatically.
Without
Like-
any warning?
Terrifying, right?
Right. And I'm like, what happens if you're inside? And like, well, you die. And I'm like, okay, that's like stupid. Now that never happened. Now they said it would happen either every 20 minutes, which never happened, or every 3 hours. And we were there for like 2 hours. But they fired the laser twice to like reopen the hole.
But did it ever close?
Never closed.
So it
That was
could.
something
Who
like-
know? We don't really know. Then, I mean, from our experience or from our team's experience, we only know. And it could have been broken because of the server performance or whatever.
Yeah, I think someone from one of the other orgs, Shadow Moses or something, like said that. So I don't know if it's true. It would be that would be like that does beg the question though, is like what happens to these holes? Because if those things stay around forever and ever, I guess the holes do have to close up at some point,
Yeah, you would think, right?
which is also kind of lame.
I think a little bit of added risk. That part is fun. Anything
I mean,
to
I'd
get a
like,
more
yeah, I'd like it to
temporal
stay
kind of
open a little
rush.
bit. No. I don't want to be in the hole and then worry about the hole closing. That's stupid. That's
It'd be an
ridiculous.
easy mechanic to make like some kind of steam to start boiling up or something, you know. and
Rocks start falling,
then- and then there's like a tremor starts happening, and the tremors increase
ye-
in intensity, and then finally there's a bunch of steam, and if you don't get out, the thing reseals itself, and then you die.
You know what happens? This is what happens. A worm comes. And the worm closes it. And so if you're there and the worm comes, it's like a fight with
Oh.
the giant worm.
But he's not in the game yet.
He's not in the game yet. But that's what you mine there for a while and then eventually you attract a giant worm. If you kill the giant worm, it stays open. And as long as that hole is open, and as long as people are mining in it, there's a chance that the worm will come to close it.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. But then if you
Interesting.
don't defeat the worm, or maybe no one will be there sometimes, and the worm will come and close it. That's how you do it. Because that way it's not just stupid.
Did you see any of the baby worms when you
I
were
did.
playing?
No, but people I was playing with did. Murphy saw them. MurphyJack saw them. And if you saw baby worms, let us know about it. Feel free to call in to Open Comms Radio. We got more people joining the Discord, but nobody's calling in. Not today, at least. But if you do have something to say, you can join us at Open Comms Radio. Join the Discord, linked everywhere in all the bios and descriptions. And be sure to give us a like and subscribe if you're watching. And you can follow us on Blue Sky, where we post about the show and do cool stuff. Open Comms Radio.
Yeah, I love the Jump Town feel of, just combined arms for a lot of this. Just to have, you've got a series of ships now that all have more utility. I mean, even the Valk, I can just see so much more use for having those side turrets coming in and getting really close, because there's so many AI that are down there, especially at the installation. I mean, there were tons when I was doing low passes and a lot on foot. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, once we get the worms. Once we
get a
get
lot
the
of
big worms,
utility.
dude. If they can build stuff like that, so that one thing you're doing may cause something else, Like if they can have events be like that, some kind of cause and effect that could happen, and they can make it cyclical, right? That'll allow you to like open and close the hole, but that'll also allow orgs and stuff to influence the world. Like imagine you're on Daymar, and imagine if like this mining attracts worms, but then the more you mine, the more worms that maybe attract, and then Daymar could just be like a worm-ridden, you know. And a couple orgs can make it like this worm planet with so many worms out because they all attracted so many.
Yeah, through
And
the
then,
mining.
yeah,
like-
and then you could kill it and it becomes barren, and then that gives like story to the universe. I don't know how easy that would be for them, or how possible that is.
I
Well-
see in this video that you're playing, you keep getting into one of these Atlas Geo mechs. Are you one of the people that are part of the problem that bought one of these things?
I caved, no pun intended.
That's
Ay, ay, ay.
excellent word use.
Excellent.
Yeah. But can I tell you something? That's all I want to do is like fly around in my exploration ship, drop down, and go to mine. And the rock is such a piece of crap, and it doesn't work. And I play with a controller, and what I actually really appreciate about the mech is that it works flawlessly with my controller. It's like really relaxing. I can like sit back and put my feet up and play with it, and yeah, it's great. It's like that song, It's everything I want. It's everything I need. It's everything inside of you that you wish you could be. Da-na-na. You can stop me at any time.
No, we can
No,
let you roll.
I just love you, taking that rope, making a noose, and pulling tight.
It does feel like I mean, we had the contested zones, and it does feel like this is a really cool evolution of them kind of taking stuff that worked there, multiple elements that you have to get, whether they be batteries or key cards, and working it into a much larger theater point of conflict. I mean, you surely have the executive hangars, which give you that kind of space fighter combat.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, first of all, you can see it's on Daymar. It's a lot easier to see where stuff is, and so yeah, the aerial fights here. Yeah, I'd love to do larger org v org. I mean, even if they're semi prearranged, it's a lot. Obviously, it's pretty risky for solo pilots to venture here when there's a bunch of other players. But yeah, larger org v org style, whether it be like Gem Mayhem or just Jumptown even. Yeah, this is all good stuff. You love to see it in the game. I'm more of this, please, throughout the rest of the cycle. If this is their content year, I'm really looking forward to everything else they could possibly add.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that. And the one thing you guys haven't even mentioned yet is Wikkett, which all this ties into. Wikkett or Riari, if you can take the minables to Riari to help with the
The
clone
general the
epidemic.
crisis that's happening via
where
the
people
lore.
aren't able to resuscitate in new clones when they die, which is funny because it doesn't seem to affect the player's clones.
Yeah, dude, I was gonna say, what is this?
I remember
It's
that
like-
in the video they
yeah.
released. They were like, "But the player's not affected," and I was like, "Sweet."
So why do you care?
Yeah.
So you're basically saying, yeah, don't spend your gems at Riari. Go to see the alien, see Wikkett.
See, here's an easy way they could do it right now. Is like if we didn't deliver our gems to the Riari thing, every time we revive, the hospital beds will only revive like 90%, then 80%, and it starts degrading. So then people actually have an incentive to send it to Riari. If everybody who revives can only revive at 80% health or whatever.
No, you're missing the whole. If that's what's going to happen, and maybe they'll add that, you'll just be able to spend like $5-10 online at the pledge store to get your clone back.
Oh, that's right. You're right. I totally forgot.
That's kind of what we had talked about in the past of wanting to have more lore consequences from the lore. And this would be a really cool lore event to say, hey, maybe every time you die, and I know maybe this comes into effect with the next tier once we get past tier 0 and item recovery. Maybe there is some percentage hit to the credits that you have on you every time you have to pop up. So is the game in that stability level to where that's not incredibly frustrating? I don't know. It's tough to make an assessment on that, but I'm sure they'll make the right choice. But we have some other opinions. Yes.
Yeah, maybe someone who can make an assessment. Wikkett, if you scooch on over on the couch there.
Yeah, let me. This comfortable couch and the 890 jump here. Let me scoot on over.
Yeah, this is Open Comms Radio, your Star Citizens, blah, blah, blah. Oh, boy. You know what, Tav? Why don't you do this
Cheers. Welcome back, caller BroccoliRob. Good to see you.
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
Good. You have some thoughts on 4.1 Hathor, and what's your immediate takeaway? And do you kind of what's your thoughts on the event at large?
Pay to win?
Not pay to win, because it is not an event. It'll be here a year from now. It'll be here forever, essentially.
Content. It is a content ad.
Yeah, so it'll be there. It'll be there after they add the Atlas Geo to in-game. It'll be there when no one's hanging out in Stanton anymore. Yeah, it'll be there forever. So
Actually,
I don't
really
think
good point.
event is a good way to sort of label it.
Okay, that's fair.
I think overall it's great though. It's group content. It's the first group content we like true group content we get. I guess you could try to run away with it on your own, but I don't see that working.
So that I think is the rub and why I think it's pay to win, because it's group content. Now everybody's interested in it because it's new. It's the new kid on the block. Everybody wants to participate mostly. Like you said, in this is going to be a forever event. It's a sandbox type event. In a year's time, you may be able to do this solo, but it'd probably be a slog to do solo. And then by the time, let's say in a couple of months when the Atlas Geo is in game and you can just buy it in the game with Alpha UEC, which will be great. But then there's nobody really interested in doing it anymore because everyone has basically participated in the event, gotten everything they want out of it, and now you're going to have to try to convince somebody to help you out. And seems like it's going to be more than just a few people.
In your opinion,
Well-
Broccoli, what would you say is the most challenging rung or leg of this content?
Definitely I would have to say it's the end. I think it's essentially Jumptown in a cave. You can go through the whole process like with a small crew, do that, and then 15 people into or a Polaris show up, and then you're SOL. Or
That's
even just a
easy to
bunch
rob
like
people.
15 people's like in a swarm of fighters show up. Like it's hard to defend and extract from that cave.
There's only one way out. One way in, one way out.
Yep.
So you really have to hold it. At least in like Jumptown, there's 2 ways in and out of that building.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to the point earlier about whether or not like people will be willing to do it, if there's a lot of people that were unable to do it, eventually they'll get their shot when it's less busy. Like there are more solos running contested zones now. That's not the new hotness. But I think that group play shouldn't be sacrificed at the expense of a solo experience across the board. I think there's a lot of stuff that solos can do. I don't think they should be able to do everything. And I think Hathor is a great example of that.
Here.
I agree with that. I just don't think you should make an event where you have to spend money to participate. which I mean, in general,
You don't have to.
spend some money to get into the game, right? But then spend more money just to be a participant in an event that you can participate later in when it's no longer required for you to buy an out-of-game item or an in-game
Well,
item out of game.
it'd be just like any other more challenging mission in the game. I think we have so many people that recruit, even through general, that say, "Hey, I'm assembling a group to do more challenging missions." I think it's good in a sense that it just, brings people together, right? In terms for the team play, or
Yeah, the game
necessitates.
content's great.
Yeah.
It does feel unfinished though, like a little bit unfinished, but it is great. Like
Well, I don't think there's any
it needs an
argument
end.
that the event isn't an awesome event, and it's great for teams. It's great for multi-crew. It's great for a lot of things. It's just a big step forward, I think, in the whole evolution of the game that we all love to play. But at the risk of this pay to win mechanic, I mean, I always go back to that because, if you're building something for the player, and obviously, I would say the one thing that would make it less pay to win is if instead of doing their normal, what is it, 3 to 6 months before it's available in game, if they cut that down to like just a month or two, so the people that really wanted to buy that thing could buy it, but now it's available in game, so people that either didn't have the cash or just didn't want to spend any more money can now buy their own little geo mech and participate fully in whatever aspect of the event that they want to do.
Yeah, it needs to be available in game, and it's one of those things where like in the future, like I have one, am I gonna keep it? You know what I mean? Or when 1.0 launches in 25, 36, whatever it does, am I gonna keep my my tiny little mech or my my Fury or any of those, like the small cheap stuff? Are you really gonna end up keeping that in your hangar if you can just buy it in game for 200,000 credits?
It all depends on what you see as what winning is.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
different
the other
strokes for
thing.
different folks. Like, it's yeah. I mean, I think the Fury. This is very kind of similar. Didn't they release the racing maps, or all throughout Stanton at the time when they released the Fury, the racing version of the Fury, which gave
Yeah.
the Merlin and every other ship a run for its money.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't think the Fury is that. I think the
Archimedes all the
Merlin,
way.
yeah, the Archimedes is way better than the Fury in terms of racing. Totally.
Yeah, but I mean, that's why I don't like the whole pay to win like term around this game, is because there's no winning.
Yeah, there's no
There's
Yeah,
no winning
only.
like in like Overwatch or Counter Strike.
You're just having fun. That's the objective, is to have as much fun as possible.
It's very
Well,
Buddhist, huh?
Then so the win condition in that based on that statement would be that having fun is the win condition. Therefore, I have not spent money. Therefore, I cannot have fun. I
What's having
can have
fun?
fun, but I can have the same fun as you that you're in your mech that you paid $45 for. I can't afford that, so therefore, I've been locked out of fun.
To be fair, I also cannot afford it, but I did it anyway.
Well, I'm
And
trying.
that's
I'm
why
not,
it's predatory.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I've heard this argument before. What is winning? Well, winning can mean anything. I mean, you make your own win conditions, especially in a sandbox-esque environment like StarCitizen is. Your win condition might be, okay, this patch cycle, I want to make $1 million. Okay, you won. Or this patch cycle, I want to go for a whole 24 hours of game time without getting killed. That's your win condition. You make that up. That's the nature of a sandbox.
Yeah, but I personally want some kind of real, not necessarily win condition, but like some kind of victory, some kind of progression, something in the game.
Well, win condition
win,
is just
that I can accomplish.
Is ersatz for accomplishment, basically.
Right.
You have to come up with these things on your own because there are very few metrics in this game that are measurable. One is how many ships you have in your hangar. The other one is how big is your wallet? What is your reputation with XYZ factions? Stuff like that. I mean, these are all measurable metrics that are tracked in the game, but those are kind of boring because it doesn't take a lot to exceed in any of those things. So you can make your own.
So you should definitely be, yeah. I mean, but like if it's the thing is that like there do have to be some limits on it. Like my win condition could be I get every ship for free. Like that doesn't make sense.
Why not?
So there has to be some work that goes into it.
Well,
And
you're
if
playing the
that's-
game to get the ships, right? Like, what do you mean by getting them for free? Do you mean by not
Well,
spending real
like-
money, or do you mean not?
No. I mean, what I mean is, like you said, the win conditions to have fun, but I can't buy this mech, so I'm not having fun, so I lose. But
Yeah.
you maybe work towards that, and then when you're able to, because it's not like you sit down and it's like, all right, I have to meet my win condition in 10 minutes.
No, that's true.
Yeah. So
But-
you go through the process and you try to win, and you earn some money, and then when it's time, when you're able to buy it, then you're able to buy it.
Yeah, but we're talking about on say a level playing field. The level playing field being the in-game game, not out of game where I spend 45 USD that I may or may not have, but in game I might easily have 1 million AUEC to buy that thing. I've generated that currency in game. Legitimately or illegitimately doesn't matter as long as it's in the game.
Yeah, no,
I
I
didn't-
understand that.
So that's where this whole idea of pay to win comes in.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I don't see it as pay to win. I just don't.
I mean, I agree that there's
Well-
no win condition,
Well,
and I'd
then-
like there to be a win condition, like in Helldivers, they have narrative win
Well,
conditions. You know what I mean? If
so
you have that map and
let's extend the hypotheticals a little bit more. Let's say, in a year or two's time when all of a sudden you can claim land and you can build a base. And
there you go.
let's say in order to build the base, you need a pioneer, and the pioneer is only available by buying it for 875 USD. It's not available in game. Is that now pay to win?
No, because then you just buy the smaller Argo ship. Like there are base builders.
Well, let's say those
you
aren't
can-
available in game. Let's say you.
Well, yeah,
the only
but
way
that's
to-
not going to happen.
Well,
if
no,
they're not
it's happening
available in
right
game.
now. It's happening right now
Mm.
with this Argo Atlas Geo.
But there is no win condition. And okay, I agree with you, but it's temporary. That's the thing about it,
That's the
right?
big thing. It's not like eventually it'll be in. It's like pretty clear, like 3 to
Well,
4 months, it's in, and then you're good
To
to go.
me, anytime there's pay to win, that's market manipulation. It's developer manipulation to generate money. And I know that this is how they make their money to keep continuing the development of the game. I understand all that. But let's just be clear about it. Let's not sugarcoat it.
Oh, Wicked, I think it's exactly, I mean, in some level, it's exactly what you're saying. I think for seeing it out to the Pioneer is a good example. For me personally, the bridge to the other side is so easily traversable in terms of, I mean, I showed up to this event. I was offered to get no Geo. I could have mined. There's so many. Having more friends allows you to work the hangars, the executive hangar system. There's a lot of paths to get to what is.
But
the best
some friend had
meta
to pay
fighters in the game.
$45 for that Geo for you to use it.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
I mean,
at
that's
this stage.
StarCitizen. That's like
Yeah.
that's the game that we've all been working for, giving money for like what 12 years now.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but that doesn't make it right.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a little bit baked in the cake. Maybe that's the best way to look at it.
That's
Do we have Jar Jar? Do you want to?
Yeah, we have another caller here.
Oh no, not this guy. I'm moving way over. I don't want
Yeah,
him
move
reviewing
over.
me.
Let him in. Open Comms Radio, your StarCitizen call-in show. If you do want to call in, you can join us in our Discord. Just pop into the caller waiting room, and we'll pull you on up, just like we're doing here with MurphyJack. MurphyJack, welcome to Open Comms Radio. 4.1 Hathor mining missions. Are they pay to win?
Thanks for having me. All right, so just there's a few inaccuracies.
Fire.
It
And this
is
is coming
not
from the founder of
it,
Gem Mayhem.
it is not, because you can use the rock, and we a little day before we did our op, I infiltrated in to just wanted to see what was going on. There's 2 rocks down inside mining. They were collecting, that everything was working. I was just watching them. Then other people came down, like not with me, and a fight ensued. And one of the rock drivers died, and the rock was down in the bottom of the cave. So in the confusion, I got my max lift, got that rock out of there, got it loaded on our Polaris, and got it out of there and got the stuff out of it. Also, a lot of those minables in there are hand mineable. You don't have to have a vehicle to mine them. But the thing, I wasn't able to test that because for whatever reason my mining attachment was bugged out. Does the geo make it easier and faster? It does. Does it make it pay to win? I mean, it depends, I guess. But the thing is like you guys are saying, this is going to be extremely temporary, because think of when they released the Atlas to begin with, right? The uproar there was about it should be in game, and it's basically just a tool. I seriously see the geo taking that route. I mean, I think we'll see it quicker than the normal, rolling out of new ships, for sure. But there's other ways to do it that are just as quick. And like I said, the rock holds more. You got a max lift. It's easier. It's almost easier to get the rock out of there, because you can just tractor the rock and just throw it. But one thing that you didn't touch on yet, that to me is a bit of a, I don't know if it's pay, like a little bit of pay to win, a little bit like pay to disrupt, is the Polarises.
That's a good point. Elaborate on that, because I've been wanting to. Let's go back to the Polaris and talk about this.
One of our org members was in a big fight where there was I think there was 11 or so. They went up. Well, you mentioned it before, Shadow Moses, that top tier PvP org. And just for fun, they brought in the enemy that was attacking them. Just for fun, brought in all these Polarises. Now, at that point, there's really nothing you can do. It tanks your FPS, which of course they're working on. But at that point, you have all these solo Polarises coming in. And the only way to get one right now, well, there's the new way you can get it through Wikkett, but the only way to get it right now is you have to buy it, right? Now, in the scheme right now, it's showing that ship, like this whole capital ship gameplay thing, could potentially like be really disruptive, and it really needs to, it's shown a light on it, right? And really hopeful that engineering is going to fix this, because when you get a swarm of solo pilot Polarises with their PDCs on and just shut everything down, that's the part where I have the problem. I don't really necessarily have a problem with the Geo being store only right now, because there are other ways to do it that are just as quick, if not, you got to think about it a little more. It's not as easy. Same thing with like tractor beams, right? We were using Nomads as Atlases before. Remember, we were doing cargo running and we were using the ship tractor beams because they're quicker. But in terms of right now, this event and everything, the solo Polaris problem is bigger to me than the Geo.
And is that from the fighter screen that you can put, let's say from 4 Polarises, just a PDC fighter screen that puts out?
Well, that the physical size of them, like you remember hearing how you can plug the hole with it. I mean, there's really an eclipse or whatever coming into torpedo it. The PDCs are just super good where you really can't missile them right now. The biggest thing is like either the distortion way, which I've heard can work, but I have yet to do it. The ballistic constellation, I know it worked for us when the Polaris released. We took out the PDCs with the ballistic constellation, but that's where I'm a little like, you need to be thinking about this. Hopefully, I'm really hopeful that engineering takes this out. I mean, it makes sense, right? That you
keep it from
solo
being,
captain on a
yeah,
ship
solo
that
crew.
size, you got to be actively managing all that power or actively managing what's happening with your ship.
And by takes it out, you mean that it doesn't necessarily nerf it. It just means that it has to be actively managed by a group on the ship, not a solo player.
Yeah, because that's what it is, right? I mean, that's what the ship is. It should not be able to be a solo fortress.
Yeah, it's essentially operating right now like it's like it has AI blades.
Exactly. It's like tier 0 AI blades.
Do you think in the short term that maybe a little cat and mouse game that this just warrants more? It brings an excuse for more A1s or A2s.
Yeah, I mean, there is that way to do it, right? You can take them out. You can't do that in space easily, but on like the surface of a planet with gravity or anywhere there's a little bit of gravity, yeah, there is that direction of taking them out. But and I know a few of us have said it before, but maybe the PDC should be ballistic, not energy. So there's you got to actively manage that. And if they bring in the reloading mechanic like they showed us in the Squadron 42, where okay, now your crew has to reload those PDCs.
No, that would change it.
That adds that level to it. It's just, I'm just saying in the right now in the near term and forever, how long? I mean, how long is this going to go? Nobody knows. The Polaris is the pay to win mechanic in the Hathor. If you're going to say pay to win, right? Because the only way to get that is buy it, or I mean, who knows when that thing comes to be able to be buying game, if it ever comes to be able to be bought in game. Yeah. I mean, look at the level of work there is to get the Wikkett one, right?
Yeah.
How much does the Wikkett one cost?
Well, it doesn't cost anything. It's all those materials, and like Shadow Moses and Salty Mike's org and all them. There's 70 plus people working to get that Polaris, plus people that they or other orgs that they bought material from. So for them to get it that quickly, it surely is a lot of work, and it's really cool that they did it that quick. But for like, I mean, think of like Red Scar, right? I mean, how long would it take us to do it?
Days only. We'd have it done.
A couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
I'm glad you think that highly.
We're pretty damn organized, Murphy.
I know. We, not to derail a little bit, but we have been talking about that, and yeah, things are great. I mean, CZ gameplay last night was great. But yeah, get back to it. That's how I feel about it. Pay to win. If you're going to talk about pay to win, I don't think the GO is necessarily the pay to win mechanic at all, because there are ways around it that aren't huge.
Yeah, versus a Polaris, which is what are we up to, the $850 ship at the store?
At $950.
Only in or $950. Dang, only in purchase windows at certain
Just
points.
call
of the
it
year.
$1,000, guys.
That's only half. That's only half of 5090, man.
I don't. But it's funny because if you go on Spectrum and you see the meltdown there is over that. I forget who it was that posted it, the video of them with the 11 players. Is the meltdown there is from both sides.
Yeah.
It does shine a light on. We need this. We definitely need engineering, and I know they're working on it, but we definitely need it.
I have a hypothesis about engineering. I think it's going to be quite different from what we've experienced, and that's why it's taken so long. I think they decided that the fuse mechanic. Maybe they'll keep it in some form, but I think they decided to go like a different route with the engineering.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
just the
think
feeling I
about
get.
like they talked about the temperatures, right? So maybe it's like you have to actively allocate your cooling, and that cooling will constantly be changing. Your shields getting hit, your shields start warming up. Using your weapons, the weapons start warming up.
In the monthly
yeah.
report, they actually mentioned that they're working on thrusters overheating.
Yeah, see, like that to me will end this Polaris problem. At least I feel like it would. Because you really,
yeah.
aside from just ferrying the ship somewhere, right? It should not be solvable at all. I think everybody agrees on that. I would hope.
Well, let's play like a little game here. Thrusters overheating. Okay, they're overheating. You're in a Polaris. Assuming the engineer's the one who gets them cooling again, what does that look like? Because all we've had is fuse gameplay, and it's not going to be that you swap a fuse to cool down the engines. Like, I mean, maybe, but I don't think so.
Well,
Right?
do you ever remember there was this old Star Trek game where you were in charge of like a Galaxy class starship, and you'd get into a fight and you would have to actively manage your power to like shields, engines, guns, just those three. But it was engaging during the fight. Like you had to really do that. So there was that with, the big ships, but then also in Star Citizen, in pre-master modes, you were actively power managing a lot if you were in a fighter
Yeah, but
dogfighting.
I'm not talking about power management. I'm talking about like the thrusters are overheating. How do you cool them?
Well,
Well, that just
that's
be
what I was
another.
getting to.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
It's just like back in the day we had the active the power triangle. At the time it was a triangle, but it doesn't need to be. It could be a square or it could be an octagon and whatever. But you allocate power to cooling, you allocate power to shields, you allocate power to weapons, and it's you don't have an infinite amount of power. 100% power to shields would mean that none of your other subsystems have any power, so that you wouldn't have weapons, you wouldn't have thrust, so you could never give 100% to anything.
Why
Unless
do I
you're
need
like,
an engineer to do this? As a pilot, I can just do that.
Yeah, like a single seat, you should be able to do that
yeah,
quickly with the power triangle. What I was getting at is like in this your Galaxy class, like I was saying, or a Capital and Star Citizen, say okay, your engine you have to have an engineer actively doing it if you're in combat. I mean that just makes sense. So the engineer sees thruster 1 getting really hot, while thruster 4 isn't really getting used that much, is cool. So take a little bit of cooling from that, reroute it to thruster 1 to give it extra, get that cooled down, then go back, because then that keeps the engineer engaged during the whole time. Like, I mean, think of your engineers sitting there fighting the entire time while your pilots and gunners are going, and your engineers like power here, power there, take power from there. Like that would make it exciting
you
instead of
might
just
you might even
moving
be able to
bars.
do that from the single seat. The pilot might even still be able to do that, just switching to a different MFD. But if he's doing that, how's he going to manage fighting? So the play would be, oh, I need an engineer because that way I can concentrate on flying the ship and fighting, so the engineer can concentrate on maintaining the subsystems.
It's also something as simple as like the flight controls themselves. The thrusters will overheat in a Polaris if you're just like sitting in atmosphere, because they're not meant to hold up your ship for an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's when VTOL is going to really start coming in handy.
I mean, I know we're theory crafting, but that's what I'm hoping. Something of that level is what I'm hoping is coming, basically, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of it as like from a gameplay perspective on the bigger ships. Like, in Helldivers, how you have those consoles and they have little, they're not really puzzles, but like pattern things or like small puzzles. Like if you gotta, cool down the engines, maybe you have to go to the terminal by the engines and do some kind of mini puzzle. And so that way, as the engineer, you're under pressure because you have to get this puzzle done like as fast as you can, so it starts the cooling of the engines. Right.
And I mean, these are. It wouldn't even be just a separate. We already know these have dedicated consoles in a lot of these ships. So, or at least a lot of the Corvettes. Hell, even some of the smaller two-person ships. I mean, there's a dedicated console for it in the Corsair, even in ships as small as the Spirit, or at least the A1. So, and we had that preview of what the engineering console looks, and I think having all that. Oh, okay, you don't just have coolant, which that would be a huge part of it, but you can also have things like doors, just a lot more minutia control over the subsystems. And I think that in a combat scenario gives you a lot of. You just want it to be engaging, right?
Well, Schmidt says in Traps something cool. Could be like the old Boyle era ships where the captain pulls the lever for full power and that sends a signal to the engineering bay to put more coal into the engines and to start to like go full power.
More speed.
That's kind of similar to what's that pirate ship game by Microsoft? The
Sea of
one where you-
Thieves.
Sea of Thieves. That's kind of similar to Sea of Thieves when you're on a bigger ship. Someone's got to like run there, and it's not as there's not really like puzzles, but it's like you got to bail the water out, you got to repair the holes, and it has you like running around the ship. I just don't like the notion that this can all be done from the pilot's seat.
Well, even on the larger ships, the especially once you get to the Corvette class, the pilot's seat should be more or less just a helm station, right?
Well, you have the captain's chair,
Yeah.
and the pilot, and the
Yes. So I mean, the captain would tell you, I head flank, or whatever order, or set a course to here, and then the pilot seat would just be a helm station.
Look, the pilot seat in the Polaris is useless because that's where they make me sit always when I'm on it.
I think you can still fire the small missiles from the Polaris seat, but even that I would be okay with. Bring that to another console.
It's a lot of work though. Like when you consider all the ships they have to do this stuff to.
Hmm.
They have to go into every ship, change, this and that.
It'll be interesting to see how engineering applies to all these ships. I mean, gosh, at 200 some odd ships, it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't envy the amount of work there.
I don't know why they don't just like slow down with the ships.
we all know why.
Man, it just feels like I mean, they've been done a really good job. I'm always worried that they just keep digging that hole deeper. But I don't know.
The backlog is ever larger.
Well, apparently they've been getting good work done on the backlog, and they have the Apollo. The Apollo's in production right now.
There's rumors of the Ironclad coming out by the end of the year.
This is a good year so far. I mean, I think.
Yeah,
I'm
think
very happy with the year so
yeah.
far.
Way better than the last 2 years.
Yeah, it started out strong so far. I mean, they've had a couple of missteps here and there, but I think in general, I play many different games, many different genres, but as of late, I've only been logging into StarCitizen. Even when on the frustrating days, this is all I've been playing. Well, I made money. The 4 point up to 4.2, the mine or die thing. I just made like $200 million playing that.
What do you do, BroccoliRob? You're in there all the time.
Contested zones.
Nice.
He's
Are
like
you
literally
he's a
just
plant
ran
that
one
grows
while
in
we're talking.
checkmate. He's rooted in checkmate.
Do you still
yeah.
go in with a sperm suit, Broccoli, now that Tier 0 is out, or do you go in geared up?
Oh, I'm going in geared up now.
Okay. It's not
I guess
as
I could.
entertaining.
I do have a like a suit that I run in there with. I got a leaner suit.
Oh, really? So because you want to be as fast as you can.
Fast and also just like creepy.
Quiet.
Now that VoIP's working, I want to have a little fun.
VoIP is.
Oh, is that what you
working.
do in there?
Sometimes.
What kind of things do you say to people?
You're gonna have to come in and find out.
Do
Did
do
you say
voices?
VoIP is working?
Exciting.
Yeah.
Like Numpad Plus is working?
Yeah.
Huh. Never works for me.
They improved it in 4.1.
Oh, that's fantastic. I almost want to do some sessions where it's entirely. Is it? Have you tested with the squad? Will it still do that?
Briefly. I
If that
I
works,
walk
I'll go
away
back
and
to it.
try it out.
It's a whole different level of immersion playing with nothing but VoIP on with a group.
Oh yeah, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, ever
I
since
like
way
how-
back in the day, we used to do that, and it was just, it's an entirely different experience. It's great.
Yeah, the filter on the voice.
Yep. And as you get on the ship, it cuts out the filter, so it really feels like you're finally together. Yeah, that's exciting. I'm gonna try that next playthrough. So yeah, thanks for the idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, you heard it here first. VoIP is working in Star Citizen. The mining missions are. Rick, are you convinced that they're not paid to win? Did Murphy convince you?
No. He doesn't know what he's talking about most of the time.
All right. No violence, please.
It's just a difference of opinion. I mean, it's fine to have a difference of opinion.
Yeah. Well, I'm with BroccoliRob. I think the only reason it's not pay to win is because there is no win. It's no win condition. It's just like adding a toy to your toy shelf. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
everybody can play with it if you just got to know the right people, right?
I was gonna say, I think the biggest problem and the biggest hurdle, and I think the biggest way to convince people that it's not pay to win will be with org tools. Because right now it's sort of everyone's on their own. Everyone just has like their list of ships to look at. But once we can start working as groups, then we can start doing actual group content more in a more realistic way.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. Tav,
Uh-oh.
we forgot the intro.
We
We gotta do it. We can't we can't stop the show without doing the intro first. So when you're ready.
I thought I was ready for you to take us out, but we can take an outro.
No, all that doesn't count. Without
I'm
the
gonna go,
intro, it doesn't count. We gotta keep going. We got another hour and a half ahead of us now.
oh, what? Please. I give you, a little. Feel like it's like dance.
Da, 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 da,
Da.
All right,
Yeah,
there's your intro.
we're getting there.
And we also forgot our Cruz Lux commercial.
Our sponsors we're gonna double up next time.
Dude, they're not gonna like that.
It's corporate. They'll be all right.
All right, Open Comms Radio, your Star Citizen call-in show. Thanks to our callers today, Wikkett. Wikkett, do you have anything you want to say to CIG, Chris Roberts, or the internet?
Stop making pay to win and make Cruz Lux mandatory.
And thank you, BroccoliRob. BroccoliRob, anything you want to say to CIG, Chris Roberts, or the internet?
Expedite or prioritize org tools and the flight model, the new flight model. That's all.
Oh, in the hover mode. The hover vehicles. MurphyJack, is there anything you want to say to Chris Roberts, CIG, the people of the internet, or your mom?
Engineering. I want engineering.
Second that.
So,
No, that's engineering. Let's go.
All right, well, that's it for us today. Hathor Mining, is it pay to win? I don't know. We didn't answer the question. We never really get to the... We just always disagree. So thank you for coming on. Open Comms Radio, your Star Citizen call-in show. We'll see you all next week.
Until
Tav,
next
play
week.
us out.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. See you next week.
See you next week, baby.